Hi again. Let us continue with the rectum. Let us deal with the interior of the rectum. This interior of the rectum, if you see, it consists of mucous folds, which are temporary and some are permanent. Temporary mucous folds are situated in the lower part of the rectum, mostly longitudinal in direction, and these temporary mucous folds are disappear when the rectum is filled with the fecal matter. Whereas permanent mucous folds are called Houston's valves. So permanent mucous folds, which are called Houston's valves, are 4 in number. Are 4 in number. Number 1, number 2, these are number 3, and this is 4. These are the mucous folds which acts like valves present along the curvatures, lateral curvatures of the rectum, and each one are semilunar in shape. They are formed by the reduplication of the mucous membrane containing some submucous coat in it, and also thickening of some circular muscle in it. And very rarely there may be projection of outer longitudinal muscle also. So these folds are 4 in number, these valves are 4 in number. First one is situated at the level of S3, that is at the beginning, sigmoid colon becoming rectum. At that part it is present, which is around 12 to 14 centimeters away from the anal opening. May be situated onto the right or left side of the rectum. Second valve is slightly below the first one, around 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters above the third one, present across the concavity of the upper lateral curve. It is along the concavity of the upper lateral curve the second valve is present. Third valve is important. This first and third valve are comparatively constant. Second and fourth are maybe inconstant. The third valve is very important. Third valve is situated at the level of S5, 1 inch above the fourth one and 1 inch below the second one. Sometimes this third valve, the circular muscle within the third valve may encircle the entire rectum along it, thereby forming the circular muscle forms a sphincter which is called as Nelaton's sphincter. And the fourth valve is situated 2.5 centimeters above the anal opening. This third valve is around 5 centimeters above the anal opening. Fourth valve is situated 2.5 centimeters above the anal opening across the lower lateral curvature. This third valve is important clinically. An imaginary line across this valve, the portion above that and portion, the rectum is divided into upper chamber and lower chamber, which are important, like if the fecal matter is in the upper chamber, there is no reflex act of defecation, but once the fecal matter reaches the lower chamber, the defecation is spontaneous. The portion above the third valve is developed from the pre-allantoic part of the hindgut, whereas the portion below that is developed from the post-allantoic part of the cloaca. And coming to the functions of these valves, they hold the fecal matter in position. They prevent the passage of any instrument unless carefully passed. And rectal washing, when it has to be done, the cannula has to pass through the rectum in left lateral position so as to avoid injury to this third Houston valves. So this is all about the interior and the Houston's valves. Now coming to the arterial supply. Arterial supply of rectum. Rectum is supplied by rectum is mainly supplied by superior rectal artery, a single superior rectal artery, paired middle rectal artery, and paired inferior rectal arteries, and also it is supplied by branches from median sacral artery, inferior gluteal arteries, and internal pudendal arteries. The main arterial supply is derived from superior rectal artery, middle rectal artery, and inferior rectal artery. The superior rectal artery is unpaired, and the middle rectal and inferior rectal arteries are paired. Not only these arteries, it is also supplied by median sacral artery, inferior gluteal artery, and internal pudendal arteries. Coming to the arterial supply, if you see, the superior rectal artery, which is a direct continuation of inferior mesenteric artery, the artery of hindgut, on reaching the rectosigmoid junction divides along its posterior aspect, divides into right branches and left branches. These right and left branches further divides into numerous branches, further gives off numerous branches, thereby forming a plexus that is within the submucous coat. This is submucous plexus, thereby forming the submucous plexus, and from the plexus numerous straight vessels radiate downwards, which these straight vessels anastomose with inferior rectal artery. This is inferior rectal artery, which is a branch of internal pudendal artery. Is it clear? So it supplies the wall of the rectum and even onto the anal canal by giving off straight branches which anastomose with the branch of inferior rectal artery, which is a branch of internal pudendal artery. It is also supplied by branches from branch, that is the middle rectal artery. The lower part of the rectum is supplied by middle rectal artery, which is a branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery, which is a branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery, which is giving middle rectal artery. This middle rectal artery is a content of the lateral ligament of rectum. It is contained within the lateral ligament of the rectum and ends by supplying the lower part of the rectum. And inferiorly, it is supplied by the inferior rectal artery, which is a branch of internal pudendal artery, which anastomoses with the straight vessels arising from the superior rectal arterial plexus at the level of the pectinate line of anal canal. This is all about the arterial supply. Now let us talk about the venous drainage. The rectal veins form a plexus the rectal veins form a plexus around the wall of the rectum as well as the anal canal, thereby forming circulus hemorrhoidalis, which consists of two sets of veins. One is internal venous plexus and the other one is external venous plexus. These are the internal venous plexus and this one is external venous plexus. Okay. This internal venous plexus is situated along the in between the mucous membrane of here at the level of the Hilton's line of anal canal, and this is sphincter ani internus muscle. Okay, between the sphincter ani internus and the mucous membrane we find the internal venous plexus, and the external venous plexus is situated close to the perianal skin and the related sphincter over there. So from the internal venous plexus, numerous 6 veins radiate, join with each other, and finally forms the join with each other to form the superior rectal vein, which drains into inferior mesenteric vein. So through this, all these plexus, through these veins, the venous blood passes through superior rectal vein into inferior mesenteric vein. Similarly, from the upper part of this plexus, by the middle rectal vein, venous blood is drained through middle rectal vein into internal iliac vein on either sides. Similarly, in the lower part, by inferior rectal vein, which drains into internal pudendal vein. Clear? So basically it is supplied by the venous drainage is by the superior rectal vein, middle rectal vein and inferior rectal vein. The superior rectal vein draining the and middle rectal vein through inferior internal venous plexus it is draining, and the inferior rectal vein through external venous plexus. And the importance of this superior rectal vein and middle rectal vein and inferior rectal vein is already you know that it forms an important site of portocaval anastomosis. This belonging to the portal system and the other two belonging to the caval system. So it is forming the wall of the rectum and anal canal is forming an important site of portocaval anastomosis, which when engorged, which when distended due to any diseases which causes obstruction to the venous systems is results in the engorgement of veins resulting in the piles. Is clear? And the piles, the radicals of the superior rectal vein at the 3 o'clock position, left lateral position, at 7 o'clock position and at the 11 o'clock position are distended, are likely to be distended much earlier, forming rectal internal piles. Okay. Since this superior rectal vein is devoid of valves, it is frequently subjected to engorgement due to increased venous return and due to the obstruction to the venous return. Okay. So this is all about the venous drainage. Coming to the lymphatic drainage, if you see, lymphatic drainage, the extramural set of lymphatics, this is the rectum. This is upper part, middle part and lower part. Let us this one is the common iliac artery, left common iliac, and this one is right common iliac. This is external iliac artery and this is internal iliac artery of left side. So the lymphatic drainage of the upper part of the rectum drains into these nodes, which are left common iliac nodes. The lymphatics of the upper one-third of the rectum drains into left common iliac nodes. At places it may be intercepted by few nodes which are pararectal nodes. So the lymphatics of the upper one-third of the rectum drains on either sides into left common iliac nodes. On its way, particularly the left side, it may be intercepted by the pararectal nodes. The middle one-third, it drains into the middle one-third. Lymphatics drain into corresponding internal iliac nodes. This is internal iliac artery, this is internal iliac nodes. On either sides it drains into corresponding internal iliac nodes. The lower third, this is a levator ani muscle here, drains into internal iliac nodes by two ways. One set of lymph vessels pass in front of levator ani muscle, and another set of lymphatics passes below, pierces the muscle, and then drains into internal iliac nodes. Directly, the lower one-third also drains into internal iliac nodes, but in separate way. One set of lymph vessels doesn't pierce the levator ani muscle. This is levator ani. Other set of lymphatics, after piercing the muscle, drains into the internal iliac nodes. And the region around the anal canal drains into superficial inguinal nodes. The region around the anal canal drains into superficial inguinal lymph nodes. So this is all about the lymphatic drainage. Coming to the supports of the rectum. Rectum is supported basically by the puborectal sling of levator ani, the corresponding pelvic fascia, the fascia of Waldeyer, the lateral ligament of rectum, the pelvirectal space, and the ischiorectal fossa. All these things supports the rectum in position. If there is a weakness in the support, it might result in the prolapse of the rectum. Coming to the last aspect, that is applied, important one already you know, that is the hemorrhoids or piles due to the engorgement of the anastomosis between the portal system and the caval system, that already we know. Second one we can say is the rectal carcinoma, which is common, which may be malignant. Other one is rectal prolapse. Sometimes the portion of the rectum may descend during straining from the anal opening outside due to the weakness of its supports. Then rectal examination, perrectal examination, to locate the structures within and around the rectum. Digital examination done by inserting the finger perrectally and feeling for the certain organs, like in case of female, the posterior wall of vagina, in case the uterus, in case of males, the urinary bladder, seminal vesicle, and all these structures can be assessed, and even in prostate gland in case of males, if by doing perrectal examination. And the last one important clinically is barium enema. It is a radiological way of investigating the luminal contour of the lower half of the GIT by sending a bariosulfate mixed suitable proportion of liquid perrectally through a cannula and then taking an X-ray, and that film we call it as barium enema procedure. This is all about the rectum. Thank you.